Well, welcome back. Guess who's back? Complete with Power 10 mugs. Which is the wrong way around if you want to hold them, actually, if you're right-handed, but never mind. So, positively
right-handed, Mark?
Yeah, right-handed you're IBM, left-handed you're Power 10. Let's go left-handed for a minute. So, been a minute. Been more than a minute, been a couple of years since Positively Power, but it's really nice to be back. Really excited. Probably worth doing a bit of an intro, really. It's been a while since we've had this forum and delivered it in the various manners that we used to deliver, from the Positively Power emails, from the Twitter feed we had, from the Slack channel we invented. So Positively Power podcast, project 1 of Positively Power's rebirth. So those, for anybody who's listening, and goodness me if there's people listening, my name is Erica Mitchell. I am the Power Channel sales leader for UK and Ireland, and that's my job title. Who I actually am is a very passionate IBMer, a person who completely believes in power. I'm a wife and a mother, which is an interesting juggle constantly. I have 2 boys, Jack, who is 13, and Alex, who is 10, who are my absolute world and are chaos and brilliant and funny and eat constantly, which, when you don't necessarily have time to go to the supermarket or cook, is one of the biggest challenges in my life. And I am well known. I know all the dead spots on the train journey between my local station and London South Bank. Jesus, where'd that come from? London York Road.
We've been doing this a while, yeah.
To where the Ocado app completely falls over. And I would just like to credit Simon Robertson with the fact that I use Ocado and I've moved on from Tesco's, because he promises me he's done a thorough study on it, and it is still cheaper. So I'm going with that and not reinventing that spreadsheet, because I trust him. So yeah, I'm a passionate IBMer and passionate working mother. Love anything spiritual, love anything health related, love anything it just makes you feel good, and all about trying very, very hard to be positive, present, and real, which means positive and present isn't always how we are, but we're getting there, and it's a goal.
Objective.
Oh, and this is Echo.
She's not Lego,
Echo's just pointing out that I hadn't introduced the Lego versions of the Positively Power team. You're sitting there. David, over to you.
Okie dokie. Hello, I'm David Spurway. I'm the global principal for IBM Power, which, after all, is a set of words that doesn't necessarily mean very much. But I'm somebody who can occasionally be referred to as Phileas Fogg, running around the world, presenting in various places, which is great fun. And so I talk about power. I used to talk about power across the UK and Ireland. Now I talk about power on a slightly wider stage, which is great fun. As Erica says, I'm also somebody who is a father, that my children are regularly turning up in my presentations as I do my best to bring my real self to work. And I'm often put on agendas to be able to put things back on track because I speak so darn fast. I might just mention that these, as we talk here, these views are our own. They're not official IBM ones. They're our ones. We've been doing this a little while, and we have some level of experience. But these are our own views, so hopefully you'll like them. And if you have any issues with them, do feel free to let us know, and we can discuss. Over to you, Mark.
Oh, that's great, and it's so good to be back with you guys. You can just feel the energy. It's amazing. Like, everything's virtual, but we can really feel the energy. So I'm Mark Jones. I was an original member, along with these two, of the Positively Power team many years ago. I'm the IBM commercial manager for the Power brand, covering UK and Ireland. So basically, I get involved in all deals, keeping those sellers on the straight and narrow, but making sure, most importantly, that our customers, who are kind enough to use and get value out of our technology, get the best value for their investment, for their money. And obviously, at this time of year, in the world, with everything that we're going through, that is more and more important right now. So lots of interesting conversations that we're having at the moment that hopefully we can share on here, and other people can get the same benefits. So it's great to be back with you guys. Yeah, so thank you. And from an audience point of view, we're hoping that this not only reaches other IBMers, our business partner community, which is where we spend a lot of our time focusing on a daily basis, but also to our customers and to everybody who kind of feels that they need a little bit of positivity in their life, coupled with the real kind of corporate world that we all live in. So hopefully you'll like it. Please give us feedback. Please share this podcast in whatever form that you've seen it in. And look, we want this to grow into something that reaches everybody. There's enough tough and negative things going on in the world right now, and we've always been of the opinion that if we can make one person smile or reach somebody and make their day better, then we've done what we've set out to do. So hope you like it. Look, let's get into a conversation. Erica?
Wow, worth also saying that, to your point, Mark, we want guests. If you've got something to say and you like this forum, come speak with us. We'll be inviting people, but don't be shy, come get us. And in the spirit of blankety blank checkbooks and pens, for those of you who are as old as we are, you get your very own minifigure. Experience as we are. That's the right word, David. Thank you. We are going to endeavour to make your very own Positively Power minifig for those of you who come and join us. No pressure. Fabulous. So where do you want to start? Anyone got anything I want to kick off with?
Well, I was going to just do one thing is of course, actually, them they're minifigs. If you're not aware, then some time ago, I got away with, I did a presentation that was all about how Power and Lego were similar. More about that if desired. That's why we have the little Lego minifigures. That went down quite well. And I did find myself at 8:30 on a Thursday morning presenting Lego bricks to the IBM UK General Manager, which was slightly terrifying. But we created this particular format to be able to bring positive messages in a time when things were getting a little bit stressed. Fourth quarter, towards the end of the year, is always exciting inside of IBM, and so we like to bring a bit of positivity at this point. Stuff that's going on in my space at the moment is that I'm coming up with new discussions around an announcement that's just come out. There was an announcement made about something or other, a thingamabob called .NET, and .NET is a Microsoft thing. And I've been asked over many years, now, can you run Microsoft applications on Power? And the answer to that question always had been no. That we couldn't run Microsoft applications on Power because maybe they were run on Windows. But actually, Microsoft, being a rather smart corporation that they are, it doesn't necessarily make it all about the operating system anymore. It doesn't need to be necessarily on Windows. We could have ways and means. We could actually mix Windows applications with Power boxes. When we used to, back in the day, have adapters we could put into the iSeries platform to be able to run Windows, but that went away. And so since that happened, how do we do Microsoft things? And so now, just recently, as in I think yesterday, the announcement came out that we actually can run this something or other called .NET. We can actually run on Power, announced by Microsoft. So I've come up with a one-pager. Don't know, maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't. I only created it last night, so we'll see whether it makes sense or not. But shall I pop it up here and we can see what we
can, David, and I think I'll be a good test, right? Because I have so many questions about it. So I think if I can get it straight in my head of what it is and what it means, then you've done a good job. So let's see how we go.
Let's see what we can do. So I've totally nicked this format from a nice man called Andy Mason. In that what he was when he was an ex-client exec, we haven't got that particular job title in IBM anymore, but when he was leading a route into customers, he would want to make sure that we've got things simple, as life in IBM can be far from simple. So up in the top corner here, I have the kind of challenge that we're trying to address. Up in the top right, I've got the thing. What's the doobry? The doobry in this question is .NET. And in the bottom left are the advantages of it. And in the bottom right are the things we'd like you to do next. So the thing that the customers want to do is they generally, I don't know if you've heard this from customers or you're a customer yourself, but generally they'd like to save money. That's a fairly consistent one. And simplify your life, which also I feel meshes quite nicely with Positively Power. We'd all like to keep things just a little bit simpler. And that's potentially how we can make things together. This particular announcement can bring benefits in both cases. And if we run .NET on IBM Power, it can lower costs, it can simplify things, and it can speed up solutions as well. The thing.NET is a software development platform. It's a software development platform from Microsoft. It's entirely open source now, and it's a Dewberry which can be used on all sorts of stuff. You can end up using it as a framework to run desktop applications, web applications, and cloud and mobile, gaming, Internet of Things, all sorts of different bits and pieces. And some of the software mentioned on the far side there, Visual Studio, are some of the bits. The cat's getting involved again. They're some of the bits that can actually be, I mean, cats can be involved, that's fine. The Visual Studio stuff is some of the tools I've just begun to dabble with because I'm many things, but I'm not a developer. But if you are a developer, this is the sort of stuff you work with on a very regular basis. On some of the little show not tells, I've use some of this, begun to learn. It's a kind of challenge for some of us who are more presenters and hardware people and are not developers, but it's stuff I've begun to learn. So those are things that it is. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, it does, and it's quite intriguing, David. Right? So, I'm currently sat in what my son uses as his gaming room. I've got the Star Wars stormtroopers coming through the back of the wall. So the gaming bit, does this mean everybody could now have these amazing E1080 power systems and run some kind of shared online gaming thing for gamers, or has
Potentially, yes. Yes, absolutely, it could mean that those kinds of applications can be then moved to Power. .NET is used in lots of places, as you say, is used for gaming. It's used by game manufacturers. It's used by Samsung on the mobile side because they see it as fully open source. It is also used, as you say, by gaming manufacturers because you can run it in all sorts of places. And so you might want to run your games on your mobiles, and you might want to run them on the larger consoles. But quite often, they want to come back to something solid and reliable as the middle core of it that actually is providing the information, is providing the actual services. And that, of course, is what our stuff is so very, very good at. So we are talking to our sellers and saying, go and ask your customers, do you have a .NET application in your world, possibly connecting to the rather important data you have in IBM Power today? Do you have that right now? And is the fact that it's in so many different places and maybe far away because it's out in the cloud, is that any kind of problem? Because we potentially have a new solution.
okay, thanks.
And it's used in lots of places. So the little graph on the bottom left here is it's used in lots and lots of places. We've been talking about Java a lot, and you can see Java is a common kind of framework used for websites, but actually relatively small. Python's fancy and powerful, and I've used that myself in some of the little demos I've been building, but again, not that large. And I've used Node.js as well. And there's also a thing called Ruby on Rails, which is another framework. But if you add all those together, they are still not as big combined as the ASP.NET, which is the thing we're talking about from Microsoft, is a very, very common framework to be able to run websites. And as we said, the websites often refer back to data that are on big, important, mission-critical servers like IBM Power. So today they're probably separate, but tomorrow they could potentially be brought onto the same server. Actually, I shouldn't say tomorrow. Right now, they can be brought onto the same server and make use of lower resources, make the same resources. If you simply get things closer together, then things can go faster because they go less distance. I can end up using less compute resource because maybe the .NET thing is busy serving stuff from your users, and at the time it's sorting things out, it's not asking the database very many questions. So the database can be calm and the website can be busy. And then once it's asked a load of questions, the database gets busy, and then the website gets less busy. And if I use the same server, I can have those compute resources flow back and forth. I don't need to duplicate. I don't need to add additional carbon footprint. I don't need to add additional costs. Just have it all in the same place.
And David, picking up on kind of the grey box there on the top right as I look at it, it says AI, and we know that ourselves and our business partners had some really, really interesting and collaborative conversations with a number of our clients around AI, and that's kind of gone away recently with our Power 10 kind of the product range that we have there. Does this give us the ability to go have those conversations again, to go with the people and the connections that we built when we were talking before?
That's a really interesting question, and I think yes. I think we can. What we know is we have had a little bit of, I believe the correct political terminology is a pivot on our AI strategy. And we used to have servers that were built for AI, and then we had other servers that were built for that mission critical data. Now we already have stuff inside of the Power 10 boxes to be able to do AI directly in the systems. But like you say, the linkage here, the fact that it's on that box, kind of above the .NET standard, shows that it's also AI is being done as part of a hybrid cloud solution. And we know that lots of customers are reaching out to AI that is maybe being run elsewhere. And yes, we can link into that kind of solution. We can use AI that's being run elsewhere, maybe to ask questions of a database back at the core. And again, we can be that database, the AI can be elsewhere. We also have the ability to move the AI models if they've been made elsewhere. There's a thing that we actually have inside of the Power Box, it's called Onyx, that allows us to be able to move the models directly from a different architecture and run them on Power. So we can do this in a few different ways. But yes, I think this opens up the kind of world where we can begin to look at AI again in another new way than we did before, and see what we can do in that space. I think I've probably got to learn a bit more about that. There's a lot here that I'm learning. There's the stuff that I didn't know about before. Lots of this, that's one of the fun bits about this job, is that there's always stuff to learn. So I need to find out a bit more about how exactly that works. But fundamentally, yes, I think you absolutely can.
David, so is this, if we've got customers out there with, say, spare capacity, is this something that they could kind of fire up additional capacity in their existing systems and test and try? And is that something they could do straight away?
It is, because this is all open source. There is no cost to it. That again, if you wanted to get full support, there are options for that. But it's all free. As we keep getting these, our solutions, our power boxes keep getting more powerful, are able to do more with less. Then having spare capacity is fairly standard. That people do have those kinds of things. They might have processors that they're actually not been using, and that's part of the argument here to say that we can lower cost. Is if we're actually using spare capacity on boxes that are already there, then it's hard to beat free, and that is cheaper than cloud. And we can reach out to the cloud as well. We can integrate the two. But if for elements that you want to bring closer, that maybe would benefit from greater reliability, greater security, and can run on that spare capacity, yes, you could do that. That these same processors that can run AIX and IBM, the same processor can also run the OpenShift that this will run upon. We can run that side by side. Interestingly, we recently had a conversation with, as part of a training session on how to do application development. We had business partners join us who had no idea that we could actually run OpenShift on Power at the same time as running AIX and IBM. We think everyone knows that, but
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons we need to keep talking, because not all the messages get out there. So you can run it side by side. It would be running on OpenShift, and so you can do that by these boxes. But we know with some of our more modern solutions, such as Power Private Cloud, you can fire up OpenShift and pay for OpenShift by the minute. It doesn't need to be a great big upfront cost or lots of servers. It can be the sort of thing where we can fire it up by the minute. And as you say, try it out, and we can do that and move forward. And this is so common, there's so much .NET out there, that there's lots of things that could potentially be brought and tried.
Sounds great.
Yeah, is there one question we could ask? One question that we could, is it just, do you use .NET in your organization, or?
That was fundamentally pretty much the question that Craig passed back my way, which made a lot of sense. Have you got .NET that is connecting into your IBM Power today? And that would be the question that we would be looking for them to ask at this point. I mean, if they haven't got .NET connecting to Power, we can still have the conversation. So if you ask the question that way, the ideal is that it's connecting to Power, and then we can bring it to Power, and that's brilliant. If you've got .NET and it isn't connecting to Power, then we can look at where the data is coming from that those .NET or applications are using. Would it benefit from the performance of Power, the reliability of Power, the security of Power? We can have that conversation, but the easier starting ground is exactly as you said, is what have you got it? Have you got .NET today? Is it connecting to IBM Power? And would it potentially, then you can look at how it might help, because you might well get benefits from bringing it to the same box, being able to do that. As we kind of say on the call to action down here, different areas and businesses might care in different ways, that probably your CIO, CTOs probably are not that bothered about exactly where it runs, but they do care about the resulting solution, about how good it is at the end of the day. And so we can bring the two together, and we can potentially lower costs doing this. maybe line of business execs, probably again, they might not really be too bothered about where the stuff runs, but if they actually see this as something that can actually accelerate growth, get over maybe performance barriers they might have, get over kind of issues they might have, it can be a benefit to them as well. And developers often, again, they're not too worried about where it goes, but if I have to fire up resources in this place and then connect to things down here, that might be more complicated. So we can potentially get things a bit easier if we can just link it all together, have it talk to a database that's physically very, very close, results in very, very high performance and low latency. And so we can do this and have these conversations. It's new, but we have people who've done it. And again, one of the things about this is this was an example of something that previously wasn't possible. It didn't work until we actually tried it. And smart people like Paul Chapman went in and worked with the customer to find out what they wanted to do, ask the question of what they were after, and then were able to port it with very little changes. There's a detailed thing that's been brought out, detailed blog, talking about what is for, and that's going to be the next step, as you can look to the blog, understand a bit more of what's happening, understand what you can do and what you can't do. So we can't do everything, but we can do an awful lot. And so we can look to this kind of space and start those conversations.
Great. Thank you for that. I'm 100 steps ahead of where I was yesterday, so that's brilliant.
Yeah, same, absolutely. I just on that chart, David, the simplify your life thing, I think is so funny that in our first podcast back as Positively Power, you've produced a chart with simplify your life on it, and I think we've all learned over our time in working together, certainly in an intense corporate environment, right? Simplifying your life is a big step to improving the positivity and the happiness in your life, right?
Yeah, but I think I would also probably agree it's an objective. But all continually working towards it. Am I fully simple? Nah. But as you say, are we working towards it? To keep things from getting too complicated? Absolutely. And that's the sort of thing again where we're trying to help. I'm hearing the conversation. Join the dots. That's the sort of thing the offer management team are taking about, because it can get very complicated, and we want to simplify because we can't all do everything. None of us can manage everything. We all have to be a little bit simpler and be able to make this make sense. And as you say, the environments we live in, I suspect our customers probably live in a fairly simple one, a similar one that maybe isn't simple either, and so they can simplify these things too.
Yeah, and I mean, November is, I think, Mental Health Month awareness, right? And and one of the things that I think we all face in the current modern world is there's so much data and information, and certainly in the current environment with what everybody's going through, it can be really quite overwhelming and difficult to kind of see the wood for the trees sometimes. And and if anybody, I think from a personal message out of this podcast today, the simplification in your home life can really help you manage all of that stuff that's going on in your head, and really can help you take that first step to improving your happiness in your life. So by design or coincidence, I think it's great that was on the chart.
It is coincidence, but it was. I did think about it as I proposed it for. We could talk about this. We could look to that. Yeah, as I put it forward, it was actually about the technical side. But you're right. Again, if we try and merge these things together, it's the sort of world which actually I think does cross over. Bringing our real selves is one of the things we've always done on these podcasts, and is also been the sort of thing which has actually been able to move forward and be able to get that into our real worlds, our life work that we do. Yeah, absolutely right. So yeah, a little bit of a happy accident, but you've talked to me before, after all, about the universe trying to tell you something. I'm not entirely sure, but there are bits and pieces that still knock about with that. That is interesting. So we shall see. Yeah,
no, absolutely, and more of that to come, definitely over the weeks and months as we record more of these, right?
Right, totally, absolutely. Yeah, we have more ideas. We are not short of those things, so we shall see. Yeah.
That's true. So what else is happening, Erica? What's kind of going on in your world at the moment?
Christmas.
You're
allowed to talk about it. We are in November. I'm okay with it.
It's allowed.
Is that allowed now? Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
So I like people, but I don't like lots of people in the same place, and I don't like lots of people in the same place when I'm trying to get something done. So I do live to a life goal of having all Christmas shopping completed by the end of November, because I am going nowhere near a retail establishment in December. And for those gentlemen who I've shared that with before, who said, have you not heard of online shopping? That to me is not personal and thought about and gifted. And it's not all the frilly bits that I tend to provide around Christmas, which isn't just what you've asked for. It's the other things that make Christmas nice and warm. And I do rather like Christmas, but I'm rather guilty of getting rather stressed around Christmas. So yeah, just trying to simplify Christmas this year, get it kind of done, figure it out. And make sure that as the kids change age and transition, what Christmas means to them changes, and trying to keep up with that and set expectations in my own mind of different things is kind of where I am personally at work. It's about the 16th. The 16th is the number, 16th of November, 16th of December is last order dates. And it's about making sure that we are working towards those. Obviously, looking out into 2023, making sure we're protecting our clients from any of the price increases that we are intending, or we're hearing that are coming, because we want to make sure, to your point at the beginning, Mark, we drive the most value. So not having a Christmas fire sale, that those days of IBM are well gone, but just making sure that clients are aware of what could happen and fitting it within the budgets that they have, so they can maintain their workloads on the Power Platform, and making sure that I've got a team of people that work for me, and making sure that they're okay as we go into dark nights, dark mornings, cold. We all have relatively good lifestyles, but that doesn't make us immune from some of the seasonal things that change. So just keep checking in with the team, making sure they're okay, and hear if they need anything, really, which is actually quite difficult, but it's something that is definitely on my to-do list every day.
But it's great, and it's great awareness. But also, I think, knowing you as a person, I know how important and that is to you, which I think is a great thing. And going through being in this kind of environment, especially at this time, and knowing that somebody's got your back like that is a great thing. So I'm sure they appreciate it. And it's not an effort for you, right? It's what you do naturally. It's, you wake up every day and you think about other people. So that's great.
I think the effort comes from being present through the noise, through the 26 Slacks that were on my computer when I tried to take half an hour out this morning, when through the emails of everybody wanting everything chasing it, which is fine and absolutely what it should do. But it's working out that priority list, and making sure that even though you're thinking it, the person feels it at the same time.
Yeah. And so how do you manage that though? Like, because we're all kind of in that position where email takes over, and like you say, instant messaging is now a thing, whether it's Slack or something else. What do you do though to set up you so that you're able to kind of face all that? Is there a routine or something that you have?
Now you are actually backing me into a little cul-de-sac of no, but I speak my face with you, who tells me there should be. and in fairness, you have imparted you've imparted that on me before, and it's useful, right? So I do have a book which I bought yesterday, well, on the weekend, and Mark, I drew my life wheel in it, because I am intending. I haven't filled it in yet. I am intending to put myself first, and the thing I do for to take that time to center myself, to then be able to be the best self for others. Put your oxygen mask on before you help others. But the thing that I do for my team, which I don't think they know, and I can't show you because it's almost full, is I have a A4 piece of paper which I draw into squares, and each one of my team has their name on it, and then I have something about the business, and then I have something about the leadership team. And in each team, as soon as they tell me something, it's my birthday, it's my wife's birthday, I've fallen over and hurt my elbow, or they've got this ongoing, it all sits in that piece of paper. And it's very basic for an IT company. It's literally just a pencil drawn piece of paper. But it's always on my desk, because I have a really bad memory. Ever since I hit 40, my memory's completely shot. But I do care, so I just write things down so that I know what's coming up, what's good, useful for them, and so that they know that they're thought about. You'd have to ask them whether they know this or not.
That's lovely.
That is lovely. And the thought that you have a bad memory compared to my memory, yours is so much better than mine.
Yeah, we're in a bit of trouble, David, if
We
Emma
are,
gets the
we
wins
are,
there.
exactly, yeah, exactly. But you're the just as you was talking about it, it makes me think that some of the things that we do know and enjoy doing, as you say, it does take energy. It takes energy out of us, but we do. Just the fact that it sort of takes energy doesn't mean we don't enjoy it. But also, just because we enjoy it doesn't mean it doesn't take energy as well. So yeah, it's very convenient for you to set up the last order dates just as I'm about to go on holiday. That's very useful of you. Thank you very much. So we had COVID, we've had a few things bounce, and so we've had holidays or cruises and that sort of thing being bounced out. So we're looking forward to to escape to the sun just before Christmas, and then as you say, we'll come back on Christmas Eve, and then it'll be absolute chaos through Christmas and that sort of thing. So there'll be lots of madness going on. But I know I do get that sad side of things. I definitely get hit by the seasonal affective disorder. So being able to escape with the family is brilliant. Being able to escape skiing and the different skiing holidays that I do with my mate and also with the family, that really helps my head. And generally, particularly when I escape with my mate, my wife lets me because I come back in a better mood than I went away. So all good.
Yeah, no, it is really important, David, and I think sometimes it can be difficult to treat yourself as a priority. But I am a massive believer in the benefit to everybody else around you by you having that and treating yourself as a priority, and whether that's your holiday skiing with your mate, and I've seen the photos, so I know how much you enjoy those. Or Erica, like you say, I mean, how thoughtful that you take the time to capture that information for your team to be, there for them and to be a better manager. And I think it's great. And yeah, so and that's why I think we've come together, right? We're all of that similar mind that it's important to us. We care about people, but fundamentally, we support each other in making sure that we remind ourselves that we are a priority too. So that we can keep that energy topped up, David, as much as we can, so that we can share it with everybody else. And certainly this gives me energy. So if I start my day and my energy, my mental energy is slowly kind of ticking down like the countdown clock, spending time with you on something like this actually fuels it back up, right? So, thank you guys and everybody listening, because yeah, that's giving me and us energy.
Can I ask you a favour, Mark? Could you just spend a couple of minutes going through how you might set up a morning routine? Because I think we touched on it briefly, and I kind of fobbed it off. But I know I've got to do it, and it's useful. But I know how to do it because you've taught me through it. It'd be really useful for you to share that.
Well, clearly I didn't do a good enough job, Erica, because you said you don't have one. So
You don't phone me at 6:30 every morning and don't remind me to do it.
no, I think everybody's different, right? We all have different jobs, different life pressures, and it's about taking the time to sit yourself down and go, what is it that I want to achieve? Where is it I want to go? And what do I need to put in place to support that? So for me personally, it was about working backwards. So I have two relatively young children. They're still at school. They're older than they used to be, which makes things a lot easier.
Mm.
But I've always loved doing the school runs. I like being able to be there for them in the morning. I like being able to take them and drop them off and pick them up. I don't do it every day, but I do it at least half the week, right? And for me, that again, that's another thing that fuels me up. But I had to have the awareness when I looked at my life to say, what is it that's going to be positive to me so that I can then go and give myself to the world in a positive way? And therefore, spending time with my children in the morning was one of the things I identified that I needed to do to make me feel and be better. So when I sat down with a blank sheet of paper and looked at how my day needed to go in order to keep that energy as topped up as I can, that was one of the things that I went on there. But it's things like, getting out and getting fresh air. It's difficult right now with the weather how it is, but just get the right clothes on, right? If you know that the fresh air, listening to a podcast or listening to music or walking your dog or whatever that might be, if that gives you energy, find a way to set yourself up to make it happen. Yeah. And I find, and it may not be the same for everybody, but if I don't do all of those things in the morning that I know I need to do to keep me happier, like David mentioned about, sad, I want to be happier. If I don't do those things that I know get me to that place, then I really struggle through the day. yeah, the more tired I get or the more hungry I get, the harder it is to manage your mind and listen, and kind of get the mind working for you rather than against you. So the more that I can do in the morning to set up my day, enables me to give more energy to other people. And I hope that the knock-on effect is that with them is that they have a more positive day in return, right? So for me, Erica, to answer your question, it's about being honest, sitting down, blank sheet of paper. What are the things that fuel me up? What time have I got? Do I need to add additional time to that? Whether that's getting up earlier or maybe even having a conversation with my manager or my company of how I can maybe work differently, right? That's a big thing, especially since COVID. And just making sure that you've got a routine that's working for you, but it has to be flexible because what might work for me now in fourth quarter might be different to come January when I wake up in the morning and maybe I'm not as pushed for time because I don't, maybe I don't have to travel as much. So it has to be something that works, but it has to also be flexible. And I think if you can kind of sit down, and sometimes it does help sitting down with somebody who is unrelated to your life because you get an objective view, right? But yeah, so that would be my view. Take the time to think about what you need and then have the discipline with yourself to make sure that you do that first before you give yourself to anyone else. Does that make sense?
Completely. Thank you.
I think so. Yeah.
So I
For
expect you to have one by tomorrow then, Erica, right? It's hard. Yeah.
My world, of course, and I find myself now in an interesting world with a global position. So I'm not necessarily leaping out of bed in the mornings, but if I'm going to be working later, then I don't necessarily have to start as early. That there's always going to be people who can ask me to do things, particularly now that I seem to cover the whole planet. Then there are questions all the time from anywhere, and so you can't do it all.
Can we just take a moment, David, to I'm still going through this in my head, right? So this world, Earth, the world that we live on, that everybody lives and
I do.
Right? You are responsible for something for that whole world.
There's not anyone else doing quite what I do.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing is one of them, and it's certainly, I think, another topic we can talk about is the imposter syndrome that does fire up in my head on a regular basis. We can cover that another time, I think.
Yeah.
But a part of that is not necessarily negative, so I think we can absolutely talk to that. But it's different pressures in different directions all the time. So yeah, absolutely interesting time.
Well, I for one, I think, and a lot of people who work with you, certainly in the UK and Ireland, are really pleased, and it makes perfect sense that you are the person who can go and add value and have those conversations globally. I think the more people you can reach, the better. So
I just have to slow down.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly, yes. So this has been Possibly Power.
Yeah, well done.
Again.
Series
Yes,
1,
he's
Episode
back.
1, our official pilot. I think we covered a good lot of stuff there, and hopefully, if anyone is listening to it, it was useful. Feedback is a gift, so please do share.
Yeah.
We'll see what David does to top and tail this. I noticed in our discussions about possible quizzes around 80s TV shows that David kicked us off today with Phileas Fogg.
Yeah, that's a possible.
If we can get to Cities of Gold by Christmas, I'll be very impressed. And I think our guest star today, Echo the cat, who is now asleep and purring behind me, is our first minifig edition. But we're hoping that we will have more guests, more minifigs join our chorus over the next couple of months, weeks, years. Who knows? We haven't set ourselves that goal yet. But thank you for sharing. Thank you for contributing, and thank you to anyone who's listening.
Yeah, good. Thank you, guys.
See you again soon.